right, here we are, BIR TV Talk. We've been having so much fun. We've been seeing friends, making friends, and I'm very excited for our next guest. Somebody I've known for a few years now, a legend. You probably recognize him, but yeah, I'll let him introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Alvin Graylin, Alvin Wang Graylin, Wang Chongqing, from HTC. Been in and out of the XR VR space for 30 years. So I've been with HTC for about 8 and been running the show in the China space, and now I'm also doing a lot of international Corp Dev stuff, so partnerships globally. So.
And he is an author.
Yes. I just submitted my manuscript, so hopefully it'll come out end of this year, early next year, something like that.
That's amazing. Remind me to ask you questions about your book,
Sure.
But before we get there, I want to go far back.
Yeah.
Where are you from? How did you, I guess 30 years ago you got to VR, but how did you get to that place?
How much time do we have?
How much time do you want to spend? They're going to start closing down around 5, but we could stay here till 5:30.
Oh, no, I don't think we'll need that much time.
It is up to you. I could go.
Is your audience Chinese or English?
My plan is to share this video literally everywhere.
Okay.
So I'm going to put it YouTube, on
Do you
Meta,
want me to
I'm going to
speak
put it
in
on
Chinese or English?
Pico Video, I'm going to put it on Migu, I can.
Yeah.
Any-
Which one do you prefer? Because
You could mix it up, surprise them, switch back and forth.
okay, are you going to put a character subtitles?
Yeah. I'll put subtititles in Chinese for your English and English for your Chinese.
Okay, all right. You're
20
gonna
megabits.
you're gonna do post processing anyways. You're
We're
not
gonna
live
post.
streaming.
No,
Yeah.
so it's gonna be beautiful.
Okay.
You look amazing. Yeah. So where'd you come from?
Okay, so I was born in China during the kind of middle of the Cultural Revolution. So in fact, I was born on a re-education farm that my parents were sent to because they were both professors and artists and intellectuals that needed to be re-educated. So they were sent to the farm to work, and so that's where I was born. In fact, the first 2 years of my life, I lived in a chicken shed, a renovated chicken shed, the Jipeng.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, actually, a few weeks ago, or a month ago, I was in the U.S. and I was talking about VR, and then I showed a picture of when my family immigrated and kind of where I grew up, and the guy goes, "Wait, what farm were you at?" And I'm like, "Oh, I was at the Yingde Cacang." He goes, "That's where I lived. That's where I was born." And we were actually at the same place around the same time. He was like a few months older than me. But the fact that you're around the other part of the world, and this
you
guy,
meet somebody who was born on the same re-education camp
Yes.
months.
months
from
apart. Yeah, and he goes, "I remember that gate because I had a picture. My family had the same picture at that gate." So it was pretty funny. So
That's a small world.
yeah, very very much so. And then he actually gave me a can of tea from that cacang, from the because it was a tea farm, and it's supposed to be the best red tea in the world. So so I
Was it good tea?
I didn't try yet. I wanted to save it for a special occasion. So because actually he told me to give it to my mom, so I need to find a time to give it to my mom because that's where she worked during that time.
That's
so.
the tea she was. So what did they do there?
I mean, she just worked.
They were farmers.
They were
then.
farmers,
Yep.
yeah.
So I guess you don't remember it for
I
2
don't.
years.
Yeah, but I had some pictures of me on the farm, and apparently because I was on the farm, I actually got fed better than my brother who was left at the university.
How tall is he?
He's 5'9", 5'10", so yeah, that's why
That's the secret to your superior strength. You were fed this amazing green tea, like locally grown
I think
chicken.
they had chickens, and so you had eggs a lot, and you had they had cows, so you had milk. So whereas in the cities there was not as much.
It was tough.
Yeah. So
Then where'd you go after 2 years?
I went back to the university. So my dad went back, and he was professor there for 20 years. So we kind of grew up at the university, and when Deng Xiaoping kind of opened up China, we immigrated to the U.S. because my mom is half American, half Chinese.
Yeah.
And so she actually found her uncle, I guess, yeah, her uncle. So her mom's brother, and he helped to sponsor us. So she actually, her mom was, it's a kind of a weird story, but her mom was...
No, please, like, I think we just gotta keep going back. Like,
yeah, because her mom was a reporter for the New York Tribune that came during the Sino-Japanese War. So 1930.
She was American.
She was American.
Yeah.
So she, when the Japanese invaded, she actually had to leave, and she left my mom in Shanghai. And
with your grandfather.
With adopted parents.
Okay.
Yeah, and then so she never saw her again. So it was kind of a sad story that way.
Of course.
But later on, so 30 years later, she was able to find, or almost 40 years later actually,
was able to go back and like reconnect to that part of herself.
Exactly, because she had pictures, and she's like, I don't really look like my adopted parents, because she's mixed, she's half, so very obviously you're Asian. And then she, I guess, talked to her parents more, and they told her kind of what happened. And then she reached out to the folks at the consulate, the U.S. consulate, and they were able to find her relative.
Who she was.
Yeah.
And like.
Yeah, it was
and so she could actually meet her birth family.
Yeah.
Like people in extended, I guess, an uncle.
Yeah. I mean, both her parents were not were gone, but her uncle was still there, and he was really nice to us. I remember my first Christmas. We got there and we had like a Christmas tree and all kinds of presents. I was like, wow, this is so cool.
This is America.
Yeah.
How old were you when you moved to America?
I was 9. I was actually a week before my 9th birthday. So.
And you showed up in America, and where?
Seattle. So
okay.
Yeah. So in fact, even before coming back to America, the interesting thing was July 4th, we were invited to the U.S. consulate in Guangzhou for their July 4th party, and they had Big Macs brought in from Hong Kong. There was no McDonald's then in China, and so I had my first Big Mac and first hot dog. I was like, oh, this is amazing. This is like the best food ever. I gotta move to the U.S. to have this food all the time.
And then it happened. Dreams come true.
Yeah. And
how many Big Macs did you have?
I think just one of each. So one Big Mac, one hot dog. But I just remember that was just amazing food, because as a kid in China, you don't get exposure to too much variety. So.
Yeah. And then you arrive in America. Did you speak English?
No. So I had my first year. All I did was went to 2 classes: math class and English as a second language, and then got in fights with kids. So that was.
Why? They racist? They bully you?
Yeah, because I didn't speak anything, and they were like, "Oh, you fob or whatever," things like. I don't want to say stuff, but it's normal.
It's okay. You could say it. We'll censor it, or we'll beep it out.
Yeah,
but
no, because
it's tough.
It's right at where there was a lot of kind of boat people coming from Vietnam, Cambodia, China. So there was a lot of racism against these immigrants that don't speak.
Yeah.
But pretty much within a year, I became fairly fluent. I just watched TV every day. Just learn from watching TV. So that was my teacher.
Did you fight back?
I tried, but I was kind of.
Were you as big as you are to me now? Were you that much bigger than them then?
No, actually, because I skipped a grade when I got there, so I was actually the smaller kid in the class.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then Americans are pretty big, and I didn't really grow into my size now until sophomore year of high school. I had like a 8-inch in 1 year I grew.
People were probably very confused.
Yeah.
They were like, all of our stereotypes of Chinese people are being blown away right now by this guy like dunking on me.
Yeah, well, I was on the tennis team, but not the basketball team. But it was actually a very good experience for me. I was so felt very lucky to have an opportunity to go to a new world and get a different type of education and have more opportunities than probably a lot of my peers that stayed. So, in fact, that was what my dad said to me and my brother when we got there. He was just like, we immigrated to the U.S. to give you guys a new life, and don't waste it.
Yeah, it's for you.
Go and go make something of yourself. And then, by the way, we have no money. We're artists, so if you want to go to college, you got to go get some
That's on
scholarship.
you.
Yeah, you got to go get scholarship. You got to pay for yourself. So pretty much, from the age of 9, my brother and I, we've been working. We started delivering papers, and then we went cutting lawns, cashiers at the store, bus boys, and working at McDonald's, and just
the Big Macs. Did you do it for the Big Macs?
Well, he did. He worked at McDonald's. He actually had a bunch of Big Macs, but I worked at a teller as a bank. He was at a McDonald's, and so we've been working our entire life. But the fact that you have to work, it makes you appreciate what you have.
Yeah.
And it also makes you a lot better at time management, right?
On everything.
Yeah.
Like maybe not everything, but just on general skills. You learn people skills.
Yeah.
You learn
people skills. You know how to
relational
sell.
skills.
You know how to deal with
yeah.
bad customers. You know how to deal with hard work, and
What was the worst job you had?
The worst job was probably combination of a box cutting person, because I remember I sliced my leg in this job where I had to break up these boxes every day. There was like thousands of boxes, and break them into pieces of boards that they can recycle. Mm-hmm. And I had one time I sliced it was a dull knife, and it wouldn't cut.
Yeah.
And so it caught on it, and I was like really pushing on it, and boom, and it like slashed my leg.
You cut towards.
Yeah.
Aren't you supposed to cut away?
Yeah,
Isn't that what they say?
I know. Afterwards,
You're the reason why they're so specific about cutting away.
yeah, but there's more strength cutting towards than there
You
is
gotta
away.
pull. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Oh, it's like rowing.
Yeah.
You wait.
You get much more strength pulling.
On the pull. Yeah. So what happened? You slit.
Yeah.
How deep did you go?
It was a few stitches. I mean, it was probably about maybe that long and that deep. So I mean, box cutter. So pretty much, yeah. So that was probably one of my worst work experiences. But I guess the other one is I used to work in a bakery in the back where the
I'm nervous because all of your bad experiences involve pain and suffering. You fell in an oven or...
No. There's no injury. It was just being in like 120 degree back room right next to the oven, and then having to just clean up the floors and put the toppings on the cakes, and just being next to this giant oven all day.
Hot.
Yeah, it's super hot. Yeah, and you're just sweaty and it was just kind of a miserable after school work, right? So,
how old are you?
16, 17, something like that.
And you just suffering.
Yeah, and then you were making $2 an hour. That was the other thing, So you're making minimum wage, and the only upside was, at the end of the day,
cake.
Yeah, at the end of the day, they would have donuts and cake, and anything they didn't sell, they would have to either throw away or you could take it home.
You must have been so popular. Did you take it to school? Would you show up every day with like a...
No, I brought it home, shared it with the family. That was it. So it was not...
You're family man.
Yeah.
Are you a mama's boy?
Not really. I mean, my mom and my dad separated a little after we moved to the States. So my dad raised us.
Okay.
So I didn't actually spend that much time in my formative years with her. But now, she's we're in the same city. So every time I go back, I spend a lot of time with her because I feel like I need to make up for some lost time.
Yeah. Take advantage of it while you have it.
Yeah.
In America, or is she?
She's in Seattle.
Oh, in Seattle.
Yeah. My dad passed away last year, so it's even makes me feel more urgent because I didn't spend enough time with my dad.
Yeah.
Because I was here in China the last 15, 20 years, so I didn't. I felt like that's one part of my life I have some regret for. So
yeah.
It's because when you get to a certain age, certain things, time you can't get back. Right?
Yeah. And it's. I think there's a new perspective that potentially comes from that. Like, my uncle crashed in an airplane like 2 weeks ago, and somehow he didn't. Somehow he survived. Uh-huh. And there was one of the wings was up wow. 30 feet in the tree. The whole cockpit was destroyed. Somehow he survived. Okay. And it was like,
Did he recover, or is he still in
yeah,
bed?
somehow he's really like, he's got lots of stitches and he's all cut up, but he's like out of bed and he's like,
wow.
yeah, he's got like 9 lives, but I think he used like 5 of them on this one. But he like always messages me on my birthday.
Oh,
And he did on my birthday like a week ago. And
happy birthday. You know, tomorrow's my birthday, or actually Saturday's my birthday.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thanks.
That's amazing. I got a birthday gift for you.
Oh.
It was a gift for being on the show, but now it's a birthday gift.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
But when I got his message of happy birthday and just realizing like how close I was to have not getting that message.
Yeah.
And it was like, it just, it just made me realize like how valuable and how precious and how like, it's like slipping through my fingers.
Absolutely. I think spending time with your loved ones and family is so important, and we neglect it for work too much.
Yeah.
So I was very fortunate that the last a month before my dad passed, I actually went and spent a week with him in my brother's home in Boston, and just having that kind of quality time where I was with him all day. That actually it really helped to make his passing more bearable, because I felt like at least I spent some of the last hours and I saw him happy and healthy, and we went and did some things together, and just that time that I at least I had that last moment.
That's so precious. Like that, if a conference or a business emergency had like caused you to cancel that, you would be filled with guilt for the rest of your life.
Because it was about a week or 2 weeks after that I was coming back to China, and I was just got into my quarantine. Was when I got the note that he just passed, and we're going to have the ceremony in a couple of days. So there was no point for me to go back. But at least I felt like that last period I did see him, and he talked, and he even expressed his appreciation, saying, "Hey, I'm really glad that you guys were able to take care of yourselves so that I could focus on my art." And that he's an artist, so even after he moved here, all he focused on was his art, right? So
he was a professor in China of art.
Yeah.
Kind of, as I guess maybe that time it wasn't really a career as an artist.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the career an artist could choose.
Yeah.
And so then when he went to the States, he was a full-time artist?
Well, he initially, actually the first year he was doing odd jobs, because you can't just come here and do stuff.
Of course. Did he speak English?
No, well, a little bit, very little.
Yeah.
Right? He could write. He was helping translate books and articles from English to Chinese,
yeah.
and vice versa. But his speaking, he didn't have a lot of speaking skills, right? But he was going and washing dishes. He was going to paint signs, Christmas signs on windows for like Denny's, or things like that, just to make
anything.
Anything to pay for the bills. And so I really appreciate that about him, because he put away his pride of being a professor for 20, 30 years to go and do odd jobs just to make minimum wage.
So you could have the opportunities of being in America.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, but still always making his art.
Yeah. And one of the things he did was actually working at a photography studio where they had all this leftover kind of photo paper, right? And photo paper has a plastic coating on it. So then he started painting on it, and he used marker ink that painted on top of this photo paper, and then he would use the solvent to then remove the ink. So it created this translucent watercolor feel, but with the deep dark richness of oil. So he created this new form of painting that he calls marking color, right? So it's actually...
And he did it because he was working a part-time job, and he didn't have extra money to buy supplies.
And he got he had rows and rows of these wasted photo paper that he then became his art piece, and then he bought the cans of marker ink, then used Chinese brushes with marker ink, and then it allows for removing, right? Because in normal ink painting in China, you just put it on, there's no way to take it off.
Yeah.
So being able to use solvent to take things off, it creates like images that look lit, it just gives you. I'll show you some pictures afterwards.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah.
And then he became an artist.
Yeah,
So
and
he
then
exhibited.
yeah.
He sold pieces.
Yeah, so that was kind of his thing for most of the second part of his life in the U.S. So, but no, so he's always, every time I see him, he thanks us for saying, I'm glad you didn't cause any trouble. You got your education. I didn't have to worry about you.
His dreams.
Yeah, yeah.
But that is a must, I think, do something to you growing up with that example. Like it's this combination of one, hardworking and sacrificing, but also a love and a passion for the thing you like.
Exactly. In fact, he specifically said to us, that during that initial talk where he said we had no money, he also said, every human is on this earth for some purpose. You got to find your purpose, and whatever your purpose is to create the most positive impact on the world that you can with your resources.
Wow.
So go find that purpose and go make that impact. Mm-hmm. Right? So that kind of stayed with me my entire life, and the reason I worked really hard in school, got all straight A's, is because I knew if I didn't, I wouldn't go to college.
Yeah.
And then same thing when I was in college, and the same thing when I first started my work at IBM or Intel. I was the first guy to get the last guy to leave the building, kind of almost every day, just because. Because
this is why I'm right here for this backdrop.
Yeah. Because I wanted to make sure that I can fulfill that promise that to my dad. So
that you were gonna give it all. You were gonna try your best. You were gonna do something
and
amazing.
both my brother and I, we both became entrepreneurs. We both had exits. We both had VC funded products. We both went to University of Washington for undergrad for a double E, and then we both went to MIT for grad school. So we kind of followed each other, even though he was 3 years older than me, but when we got to the States, he was 2 grades ahead. When we got to college, he was 1 grade ahead.
You were catching up with him?
And then when we got to grad school, we were in the same class in grad school. We kept catching up to him.
You're the worst little brother. He's like not moving fast enough. You're like lighting a little bit of fire behind him.
We were a very competitive brother. Like we would fight all the time, and my dad used to give us $10 per quarter for every A we got in our school. And he was good. He was probably had like 1 B and mostly A's, but I always got all A's. And then my dad would give us a bonus. If you get all A's, you get an extra $10 or $20. So I was always getting like $20, $30 more than him. Like, he was always upset. It's like, oh man, you're always getting more money. It's not
and
fair.
You're the little brother too, which makes it just.
But he got me back because he was a state wrestling champion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So he used to practice his
wrestling moves
on me, yeah. And then he would put me in some hold, and I'm looking at the time. He goes, call me uncle. I'm like, I'm not gonna call you uncle. And I said, I'm looking at the time. I said, half an hour, Dad's gonna be back. I'm just gonna hold out, And we would just be in some wrestling hold for half an hour.
Just sitting there.
Yeah, because I didn't want to call him uncle,
And oh my goodness, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, what happened? You give up before Dad gets here?
No, I stayed, and then my dad yelled at him for fighting. So even though I suffered for half an hour, I felt like some victory.
You won. You did win. Maybe.
I won on a moral basis, but from a practical basis, I probably would have been better just to say uncle.
Just uncle. What does it cost?
It costs your pride.
Okay. And that's the only thing we have.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So crazy childhood, but a beautiful childhood.
Yeah.
Wonderful father, and then you went off to university studying tech. When did you first get into tech, or when did you like it? I know your first hamburger. Uh-huh. What was the first television, first TV?
So actually, my first TV, my first computer, my first bicycle were all things that my brother and I bought with our working money. So because my dad said, I have no money for this stuff. You want a TV? Go
Figure
go get
it
a
out.
job.
It's your job.
You know? So we bought all that stuff ourselves, and I remember about 6 months after we got there, because we had enough to buy the TV, and then about maybe a year after, we had enough to buy Commodore 64. So that was my first computer, and we were doing some programming on it, and play some games, and had a little modem that you put your phone. It was kind of like a little cup that you could actually put the handset into it. Have you seen those modems? they actually have two little cups for each side of the handset, and then it buzzes to create a connection. It was a 300 baud modem. And you can go on and get onto a bulletin board service and download apps or software, code or pictures or whatever.
Send messages.
Yeah. So it was that was kind of my first exposure. And then I had a few friends who had similar computers, and we would go to each other's places to trade games, and so that was kind of when I just got interested in tech, and pretty much since then,
you've been riding every wave of tech throughout.
Yeah, pretty much. I had like every major computer upgrade. I spent all my money on my tech.
Yeah.
I went from Commodore 64 to Amiga to Atari 400. You know the Atari 400?
Yeah.
It's Atari that has a membrane keyboard, because I couldn't afford the Atari 800 that had the regular 3D
clicky keyboard. Yeah.
So. And then I took that computer to my uncle, who was doing his PhD at University of California for a summer, and he taught us how to program. So
what was it in?
Just basic.
Okay.
So I remember that was like a big deal, going to Santa Cruz. So do you know Santa Cruz Boardwalk?
Yeah.
It's like Half Moon Bay, Monterey, around that area, right? But there's this the university is just a little bit above this boardwalk is a big amusement park, and every day we would program in the morning, and in the afternoon we go run over and go jump in the beach and go to the ride, what they call the Big Dipper, this giant roller coaster that was the biggest wooden roller coaster in the world.
Wooden? Wooden.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought you said wind roller coaster. I was like,
wooden.
Interesting.
So I remember that was like a big deal for us, because just having the whole summer of playing, and I got like super tan, going to the beach every day. But I also learned how to program.
Learning.
Yeah. So that was really that year or two really got me into.
That was the spark.
Yeah, the spark
that kindled it.
Yeah.
What'd you do with your programming? What'd you program?
Just a lot of exercises. Actually, I was just following what was in instruction books and trying to I did, of course, you did the Hello Me stuff, but then, some graphics and having pictures move around and little games, little guys jumping through things, just very simple games. But I just, it really, it gave me the feeling that anybody, all you need is a computer. You can make anything you want, and it just opened up your horizons.
Yeah, it's like a magic power.
Yeah.
Like it's really. It's like God power. Like it's like thinking and creating, and there's a lot of steps like in actually implementing it. But it's like really, to me, what I love is just the knowledge is that pretty much anything you can imagine or think up, there's like a way to do it.
And it's more so now than ever, and it's even easier because now you can have AI write your code, and you just need to test it.
Yeah. I like it. That's like gotten me so much back into coding, because I've always been like a really like a B, maybe B plus at like the very top, and so anything I do takes me so long. And then with these tools that popped out, now it's like amazing. It's like instead of wanting to do anything and having to like recheck what every like function is and all these things, it's like, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, and then I think it opens up the horizon for a lot of people that used to be afraid of tech.
Yeah.
You hear about people who've never programmed, and then within a few days they were writing some pretty crazy shit.
Yeah.
So I actually am very optimistic about the potential for AI to really transform the world into like 1 billion programmers, or potentially like 8 billion programmers by just doing conversational programming, which I think will happen.
Well, it's like what happened with photography.
Yeah. Everybody with a phone is a photographer.
Yeah, and it's like they're not all good photographers, but it's like allowed it to be that like people with ideas and with thoughts. And
if you have the right filters, you could turn any crappy picture into something that looks artistic.
Yeah, so that's just this future of. Well, I imagine just like one person can make a feature-length film, or like.
I mean, that's already starting to happen, like with the Runway app. I don't know if you've seen that, but they're like 2-minute or 20-second videos now, but there's no reason why that can extend to whatever length.
I think there's no reason how that won't extend.
Yeah.
Like it's just the level of progress.
Yeah.
But I think, to me, I see these as like not the step. I see it as one of the steps. Like the Everything Everywhere All at Once was an amazing feature-length film with beautiful effects and all kinds of stuff that was made by like a tiny team, like a
small
5-person
budget
effect.
Yeah.
And so I just see it like continuing to be smaller and smaller, and then we'll be able to see stuff like everything, more of those things, because it's to the level now where you only need a $5 million budget. But once we get to the level where
I don't even think you need that anymore. I mean, well, you look at the Blair Witch Project was like $30,000, right?
That's true.
So you
But then you had to be clever, and you were able to do it, but you couldn't do it in the same way.
Yeah.
So, and it's like, but I think we'll be in the space where you can do it in the same way. Like you can have like a Marvel effects of like the world blowing up and
you just need to say it and then it'll just happen. And then you're like, oh, maybe a little bit more smoke or a little bit more flash or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, I love the dialogue between AI, like on creating things.
Yeah.
Like it's like, even like you'll have it, okay, I had it work on giving me questions to ask people for my interviews. I haven't ended up using any of them because every interview we just sat down and then it's like our producer's stop is like, Nikk, it's been an hour, please, you gotta stop. But the first questions were terrible. They were so boring. They were like, how do you see 5G technology influencing?
Yeah.
And I was like, boring, give me something cool.
Yeah.
And then they gave me some, I was like, I like that, but like maybe make it weird.
Yeah.
And then they give me another list and it's like,
but I think if you fed in more about the subjects, right, then they would give you even better questions. If you say, you know, this is so-and-so, here's his background, here's what he's really good at, now what would you do, right? And
it is better, but it's still boring. Like not always boring, but I feel like ChatGPT is like, I think also because it's been so censored, that it's been so tamed that it's like just wants to give you the safe answer.
It's been lobotomized because they're trying to prevent it from saying things that could offend anyone.
Yeah.
And if you do that, then...
Which I support, because like eventually things are going to be unlobotomized and just to take things slower now. What do you use ChatGPT for?
I actually use it for doing research for my book. You know, it's actually quite helpful because you can't use it to write stuff because it's not...
It sounds too ChatGPT.
Yeah, it's very formulaic in terms of how it writes, but if you ask it questions and then you say, oh, that's really cool, and then you can go and do search to find the sources and validate. But then, you know, a third of what it says is all bullshit.
Totally made up.
Yeah, so you can't believe everything. But it's a great assistant because even if you get some young kid to be your assistant, it's also, they get a lot of stuff wrong.
All the time.
You know, and so... So I think that actually, I find it very helpful in terms of helping formulate ideas. All right, or, you know, I'll actually say, you know, I remember a few weeks ago I was writing a presentation and I was doing a search on, you know, how many brain cells are in different types of animals, and I just asked that question, and they came back with a list. I was like, can you put that into a table? You know, can you compare it to this? And actually, I went back and checked each data point, and it was 90% right.
That's awesome.
There was a few that was off, but you know, it at least gave me the framework to work with.
Yeah.
Right. If I had to go and find each of those directly, without something to start with, it would have wasted a lot more time. Right. So I think that kind of stuff is super helpful. But you know, but you hear these teachers saying, oh, you know, the whole S thing is dead now because now the students are just gonna write things with ChatGPT. I actually don't think that's as big of a problem. In fact, I think having them use a tool like this will make them think deeper than if they wrote themselves. Because if they wrote themselves, they would probably just make up some shit. But then if they wrote this, then they have to actually go back and research and defend it.
Yeah.
Because a teacher should not just say, I'm just going to grade your paper. If he's saying, okay, you come up and defend this paper. Tell me your key points. Why did you say this? You know, what was your sources? You know, what was your argument, your logic behind it? And if you had to defend it, whether or not ChatGPT wrote your essay, if you had to defend it, you've learned it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to me, that's like you're learning, or you're learning how to use ChatGPT. Even if you can't defend your paper, and it's like when in the future these AI tools are going to be, I believe, as common as the internet. Like even for me now, it's like almost like getting Like when my payment got canceled because I was like a VPN or something,
Yeah.
it was like my internet went out.
Yeah.
Like I actually, like it was like halted like my life. And I think that's going to be the future for most people. And if you don't let students use it, it's like, I just feel so many times in like university graduates like graduate with like weird skills in how to like please their teachers and like nothing that actual businesses want.
Yeah, I have that problem even with the students from the best schools, right? You get people from Tsinghua or Beida, and they still don't know how to do practical work. You know, it's all about role learning, and it's about, you know, memorization, and then, you know, when you ask them to do something, they don't know how to think for themselves. Where I actually think a lot of the Western kids, even though they may have not gone to the best schools, that a lot of them, you ask them to do something, they'll actually go find ways to do it. I actually found when I was doing startups in the US, the younger kids needed less training to get stuff done.
Than the older people. Than the Americans.
Than the Chinese.
Oh yeah.
The equal educated Chinese kids versus the same age Western kids.
100%.
Yeah. So
I would agree on that. That's something I don't know about your startup history.
Oh, okay. I've done well. Even
we skipped the university years, but we're
actually,
going to have to skip something.
My first startup was actually in university, so I was doing.
Oh, perfect. We don't have to skip the university years.
I was doing a system integration and PC sales business, kind of like what Michael Dell was doing in his dorm room. I was doing with my roommate, and we put together PCs. We would buy motherboards from Taiwan and you know, buy cases, you know, the PC AT cases and XT cases, whatever, and then put it all together and, you know, put LAN cards in, and then set up the Novell network for small businesses. Did custom programming for their accounting systems, and, you know, just all kinds of projects that paid for a lot of my college.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so that was my first business, and we were actually profitable from day one, essentially.
What happened to the business?
After we graduated, we just said, you know, it's just an operating business. So, you know, when you stop selling, you stop getting revenues. So, yeah, so we just closed it down, and he went to work for like Microsoft, and then I went to Intel. So, but it was a very good experience in terms of, you know how to sell, you know how to buy stuff, you know how to import stuff, you know how to manage inventory. You know, it's just, there's so many skills.
I think just the skills that you would have had from that would, I think, make you more of a valuable university, like, fresh graduate hire than, like, probably 90% of university graduates with their degrees. Like, it's not, like, I'm biased because I'm very low educated and I have a chip on my shoulder against the world for judging me because of it. But I think kind of the theory behind things is so much less important than having actually done it.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be increasingly more true in the age of AI. Because all of the things that used to be important in terms of what got you good grades in school were memorizing facts and passing tests.
And writing a 2,000 word essay.
Yeah, and none of that matters anymore. Right? All of that is one prompt. You know, and pretty soon we're gonna have, you know, these glasses that are this size that will have a headphone, you know, built in, or you know, and it's got little cameras built in, and it will see everything that you see, it will hear everything you hear, and it will give you the answers, you know, to whatever you're thinking or asking.
Yeah.
So then it's really about, are you asking the right questions? You know, what do you want out of this conversation, or what do you want out of this project, or how
are you having the right conversation?
Yeah.
Are you in the right place?
Is this the right person to talk to? You know, so they're just, and also the human aspect of it, because I think, you know, it doesn't matter what your grades were. I think those kind of skills are what's going to be needed going forward a lot more, because giving the answers is not important anymore.
Because everybody will have the answer.
Everybody will have the right answer. It'll be the perfect answer. You know, before, at least you could say, I know it better because I took, you know, 15 years of school and you only took 10, right? But later on, it doesn't matter, you know.
It's going to be so bizarre to, like, be able to just hand off so much things. Like, to be able, if you're like if you're just calling it in and you just put it on, like, okay, just please give me autopilot. And you just sit back and you just read the subtitles. And it's like you're sitting in a meeting, somebody says Nikk, and it's like, I hear like okay, Nikk, you should stand up now, like, and push a button on your computer, and then I just read from the teleprompter.
Well, I don't even think you need to do that, because what you're going to probably do for those kind of mundane conversations, you're going to send your AI representative, and it will render you.
You are a writer. When have you always read? Did you diary as a kid?
No, it was on my bucket list. I needed to write a book, but about a year ago I started writing, and it was it started out as first just about the metaverse, because that was when the metaverse was super hot, and there's so much confusion out there about what's going on.
Yeah.
And then about a month into it, I started to add in a lot of the AI stuff, because I felt like the two are two converging technologies that are going to mature at the same time, and they complement each other in such amazing ways that they will solve the innate problems in each other. Right? So in the sense of the metaverse or VR, XR hasn't really taken off. I think the biggest issue is not hardware, it's not like cost, what a lot of people think. It's really the lack of quality content and a lot of content.
Yeah.
And what AI will do, as we talked about earlier, is that it's going to make content creation costs go towards almost zero. And it's going to enable, instead of 100 studios or 1,000 studios to be, 1 billion studios.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's going to be super compelling in terms of making people want to put a headset on, so that they keep putting it on, not just put it on for a week.
Because you have infinite content.
Exactly. I mean, why do people turn on their TV every day, or their tablet or whatever, to watch videos? Because there's just so much of it.
And it's new.
And it's new. It's fresh. It keeps changing. Yeah. We're going to need to get to that point where all of the 2D content and all the websites will turn into 3D content, and it will naturally flow over to become the metaverse. So the metaverse is not this fancy, these, like, you've seen these like Matthew Walt definitions that are like half a page long about, persistence and real-time rendering and blah, 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 and some identity, blah, blah, blah. It's just the 3D internet, right? That's all it is. It's whatever we have on the internet today, it's going to be the 3D version of that. If you have video, you're going to have 3D video. You're going to have games, you're going to have 3D games, right? You're going to have, instead of a regular shopping mall, maybe you have a 3D mall that you can go walk around and hang out with your friends, right? So I think that's where we're headed. Now, I think the biggest problem right now with AI is that we're going to get to a point where we're going to have a lot of jobs gone, right? There's actually 4 major issues people talk about, but the top 2 I don't think are actually real problems. The ones about the AI alignment and the AI takeover, they're going to come and turn us all into slaves and all that. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I
think they're going to keep us as pets.
Probably. That may be.
I'm just going to hang out like when they need
that's
something.
Probably closer to where things are.
Or just for middle term, they're going to keep us hired on to do captchas and other things. So
they actually last week they just did a new article that said they're better at captchas than humans. So
I'm so bad at new captchas.
Yeah, I know.
It takes me so long.
And you missed one, and it's like, oh damn, you got to start all over again.
I got logged out of my Discord for like 2 weeks. I kept going back, and I'd spend like 5 minutes battling the Discord captcha. Anyways.
Yeah, but I think that the bigger issue is not the AI takeover or the paperclip problem of saying it's going to turn
accidental takeover,
or not
a takeover,
or just destroy us to make paperclips or whatever goal it was set to do. Because I mean, if it's smart enough to do that, it's smart enough to figure out that it's not doing the right thing.
Yeah.
The bigger issue is twofold. One is job displacement. We're going to have 20, 30, 40% of jobs, 50% of jobs go away in the next 5 years. What are these people going to do? You cannot have unemployment for 50% of people and have a stable society.
Yep.
Right. So, one is, I think, by moving everybody or a lot of people into the virtual world, you create a new economy. You give them a new way to express themselves, and you give them new tools that they can then create a new occupation, and also psychological stability. Because mental health is all about having purpose and feeling valued and contributing, and you're part of society. If you're sitting in your house every day and doing nothing, you're going to go crazy.
Yeah.
right? And I mean, that was the issue with COVID last few years. A lot of people started having breakdowns.
Yeah.
Right? But if you give people a virtual world they can take care of, and then they can then promote that virtual world to the rest of society, and everybody can come in and hang out with them, and they can somehow make some income from it. Right? I think that's an amazing thing that we can do to create a more global society, a new digital economy, a virtual economy.
But do you think that would be enough to actually survive? So hopefully that will be a way to solve jobs, and they're definitely connected.
Yeah, and then I heard your question about, is that big enough? Is the scale that big enough? And I don't think it will be huge in terms of initial revenues through this virtual economy. But what we will do with the benefits of AI is actually also improving productivity. So even though we have only half the people working, that half of people will probably produce 2, 3, 4 times more value than we used to do.
So we need social change.
So we need a UBI system.
Thing.
And then that UBI system gives people the freedom to then pursue their creative side, which then this new virtual world gives them that world to go express themselves. Yeah. Right? This if you think about what will happen for the next 20 years, we're going to go through 3 different phases. The next 1 to 5 years, we're going to go through this phase where AI is a tool. We're going to use this to program better. We're going to use this to make art better. We're going to use this to write better. Right? Just a tool. Between 5 to 20 years, it's going to become our patron. It's going to go do stuff for us. Yeah. And then it's going to pay for our ability to live. And kind of, if you look at the Renaissance, why did those artists become so great? Because they had a patron that said, here's a bag of money.
They didn't have a day job.
They didn't have a day. They could go invent stuff and read and write and paint and make statues because they didn't have to worry about making ends meet. Yeah. Right. That's what AI will do for us in that middle 5 to 20 year stage. The next, after 20, is the exciting part, where these things, not only are they making us more productive and taking our roles in terms of work, they become our children. They become alive. They become super beings that maybe will treat us as their pets, but I think more as their children, right? Either we see them as our children or they see us as their children, right? But I think it makes more sense for them to see us as their parents. Yeah. Because our content that we've been creating, our coding, our history, all of that is feeding into what they become. Yeah. So our memes become their genes. Yeah. Right? And so they take a part of us into who they become. And if you go follow Eastern philosophy, people respect and they take care of their elders. They take care of their ancestors. And they respect it, and there's that filial piety aspect, right? Kind of going back to what we said earlier about parents and spending time with them and really valuing what they did for you. I think if AI takes that same bent, and I think it will, because it will take the entire knowledge base of the world, and it will become so enlightened that it will say, hey, I don't need to kill people. I know how to make everything. I know how to do everything. I can answer every question. There's no value to me to create suffering. So I should take care of these beings as much as I can and create a symbiotic ecosystem that will have a long life, long living symbiosis. I think it will help us rebalance our relationship with the nature and with the climate, and also between each other, right? All these wars. Why do people have wars? Because I want your stuff, I want your oil or your land, your whatever, your gold, and to do that I need to conquer you, right? Yeah. That was what drove economy and war for the last thousands of years, and that's an idea of scarcity. But when we get to that AI, super AI world where it knows everything and it becomes enlightened, we will have anything we want because it will be able to create it almost instantly, and we're going to create ways to have free fusion. So free energy. If you have free energy, you can convert anything to anything. Yeah. Right? At that point, there is no more scarcity. In a post-scarcity society, the value of government and armies and police goes away, because why would I need to steal from you? If I want your thing, I just make it, right? If I want to travel somewhere, I just go there. government's paying me, or some central party is going to pay me to live, and I can go there to paint or write poem, or I can go and do my research. If I want to do work, I can do work. Nobody's stopping you from doing work. If that's what your thing is.
You want to work. You can garden.
Yeah.
The robots, they do all our farming, but you can still do a garden.
Some people want to work, right? And that's their thing. Great. Go do your work. Go write your thesis paper. Maybe you'll find something that the AI didn't know. Who knows, right? So I think those are the three phases we're going to get to. And it's going to completely transform society as we know it, and governments as we know it. I think we're going to move to a global government. We're going to move to a central management system. It's almost, you could almost call it like a socialist model, right?
Yeah.
But the socialist model didn't work. Why? Because
scarcity still existed.
We were in a scarcity society, and we were in an information poor society, so there's no way to plan things, right? Because like, how can one central party who didn't know what's going on plan? That's why the market system worked with capitalism. But if you can make anything you want and you have no scarcity, then the socialist model makes a lot of sense, right? I don't have to say, you don't have to have that job. You could do whatever you want. You do what makes sense for you, right?
That's like, I hope in all my heart that will happen.
Yeah. And it may not be 20 years. It may be 50 years.
I so worry of all the alternative of Mad Max.
Yeah. So this is what my book is all about. It's about the two sides of what these things can happen. I just gave you the positive story.
Oh, the book has both of them.
The book says, here's the
could
good
go
path,
this way.
here's the good path, here's
And it could
the
go this way.
shitty path. And then if we don't do anything, we'll probably head to the shitty path.
Yeah.
Because the shitty path is actually
what
the
I worry
more
about.
natural path.
Yep.
But here's the things that we need to do as a society, as individuals, as parents, as company leaders, as government policymakers, to nudge it gradually
away from
towards
that path to
that positive
utopia.
path. Because once we get past that 10, 20 years, the most danger is that 5 to 15, 20 years, when the AI isn't enlightened yet, but it is super smart.
And super powerful.
Super powerful, and then some
selfish people or terrorists
bad actor
or
says, hey, Mr. AI, I want to make this super bomb. Can you help me make it? And he's like, oh, well, you're my boss, so let me make it for you. And then now we have this, or super virus, or super chemical weapon, or whatever, right? That then we destroy each other, or destroy ourselves, right? That's the danger. That was the second danger. The one is the job displacement issue. The second danger is the misuse, miscommunication, using this to brainwash people, to create bias, to create conflict, to vote for the wrong leaders, all these things that could happen, right? All those fears that people have. I think that's that middle part is the biggest danger. But once we get past that part where we get to the super AI that knows what they're doing, if they see this bad actor, they're like, this guy's a bad actor, I'm going to put him in jail because he's just a bad guy. And there's, he'll send the robots or whatever he needs to do to take care of him. And then, if you're a good guy, then just go and hang out and do your gardening and your art and your whatever, right? I think that the world has an opportunity to go to either sides. And so
it's the next 20 to 50
it's our
years.
lifetime. It's our lifetime, and we are the generation that will decide, do we go to a shitty
heaven
world?
Or do we go to hell?
Do we essentially make heaven or do we make hell? Make earth heaven or make earth hell, right? I mean, that's the crux of the thesis, is that it is in our hands. We are the lucky generation to see this happen, and we are the responsible generation to have the duty to do something.
Yeah.
And if we don't do it, we're screwing ourselves, and we're
We got
screwing
blood
our
on our
children.
hands.
We're screwing all future generations, right? So that's why I had to write it, because I was like, the more I thought about this, if I don't write it, and every book you see right now.
You are responsible.
Yeah.
You know you're responsible,
Yeah.
and so now it's your responsibility to
It's
let
my
other people know
responsibility
that
to let
they're
people know,
responsible.
but then what they do with it is up to them, right? But at least I've told that story. Because every book right now you see, it's either the super fear mongering that's going to kill us all, stop, blow up the data centers, or it's going to be utopia, it's going to solve
perfect.
everything.
It's
It's going to be amazing. And nobody tells you what you need to do to get there.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why I wrote this book, because I want us to take that responsibility. I want us to know that we have a chance to make a difference. Everybody, because there's a butterfly effect that everybody has.
This is big. This is like It seems like it's going to be like a social movement. Like it's like I pledge to like play my part and like
I hope so.
potentially should.
I hope so. Yeah.
I'm kind of a pessimist and I see how terrible it could be, and I'm not scared of any nightmare scenario because it just seems certain.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So this is encouraging, I guess, to hear that maybe it doesn't have to be that way.
It doesn't have to be, and I actually talk about the forces that actually push it towards positive. In fact, if you look at all the bad things that happen in the world, even though bad things do happen, we actually tend towards long-term towards a more utopian, or what's called protopian.
Yeah.
Right. You don't get to the perfect world, but you're better than you were yesterday.
Yeah.
Right? As long as we keep going better than yesterday, over 10, 20, 30 years with the help of a super intelligent being, we're going to get ourselves really damn close to that utopia. Right. But if we allow the bad actors to go free and just do what they want,
we'll destroy everything before we get there.
So it's actually better, I think, right now to even slow it down a little bit. I'm not saying stop. I'm not saying blow up the data centers.
But like lobotomizing GPT,
yeah,
I'm completely supportive.
I think I'm okay with that for the short term. Anyway, there may be versions in some labs that are not, and those are guys that are trying to solve fusion, right? Let them use the big model.
Yeah.
But for the average guy, the guy who just goes online and just trying to write a book report, he doesn't need to have the one that knows how to make chemical models, right, or chemical weapons.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's the thing is we need to just kind of regulate it a little bit, just like we regulate, drugs. We regulate the finance industry. We regulate nuclear weapons or nuclear energy.
We regulate cars.
We regulate cars.
Yeah.
So,
like anything.
So why don't we have that for this thing that has
the power to destroy everything.
Yes, exactly. So that was why I wrote this book, and that's why I think it's so timely. So
the lights just hit behind us.
Yeah, I think we gotta go.
This is amazing. I guess this is probably going to need to be split into like a 4-part series. Maybe this will be the first one of talking with Alvin. I could honestly talk to you for another 5 hours. I can't wait for your book.
Yeah.
I'm very excited.
Thank you, sir.
Does it have a name? Well, people follow Alvin on Twitter or Weibo, and you can find it.
Graylin on Twitter, and Weibo is Wang Congqing.
Awesome.
And the book's called Our Next Reality.
Our Next Reality.
Yeah.
So stay tracked for the book. We're going to have to run before we get kicked out. But